The bait of the day, a vintage, very vintage bomber jerk in a standard shad pattern. This is the smaller model. There's a reason I got these. I'm going to explain that here in a minute. Are you ready to run a gun? It's time for blast off. Let's go. Hey guys, Todd here. Welcome back to Bassin 101. Bomber jerk. This has always impressed me because of its simplicity. And I have seen these in catalogs, a little catalog that you get in the old bomber lures. And these come in, I think, 3 different sizes. But that always interested me just in the design. It's as a bait builder and designer, stuff like this intrigues me. Not the fancy hand carved stuff, not the stuff that started it. That's the stuff that intrigues me. Because what made this thing so great? Are they around anymore? Nah. They didn't even make them out of plastic as far as I know. They're all out of wood. I mean, you can even see right there where they actually added the weight to it. You can see a dimple in the finish. I think that's just fascinating to me. We're going to kind of go full circle a little bit here and simplify your fishing, because I think I kind of need to get back to how this whole thing, or this whole series got started, which is, how do you fish? Do you listen to yourself when you fish? Do you pay attention to your habits? Do your habits work? Do they not work? There's a lot of things involved in that. And this is going to be kind of short and sweet. I just kind of wanted to get around, because I'm like you guys. I'm kind of going through everything I have. I'm going to start weeding a lot of stuff out, selling a lot of stuff, just because it's just stuff I'm just not going to use, and stuff I'm not even going to keep as overstock. I might even do some giveaways. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Just depends on what I run across. But I'm like you guys. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. And I think I'm leaning more towards handmade stuff. You know, I want to copy these and make my own jerk bait that nobody's throwing. Nothing against the stuff that's on production out there. It's just I just want something different. And I kind of like old antique lures like this. I like modifying them and making them better, making them more to the way I fish. I've got all kinds of spinner baits and stuff like that I'm starting to make, because they're old school. They're old school style baits. But I've also got some other spinnerbait, buzzbait type lures that haven't been around for 30, 35 years. They're gone. They came and went. And I'm fortunate to have some in my collection, so I've been studying those. Like, I'm going to make that, because it's just nobody's throwing it. And it came and went because just times change. I mean, that's the way it works in this business. But something that I think it's something I ran across this past week especially, and I figured, oh man, I might want to talk about this, because here's something a lot of you guys haven't thought of, and it's something I've thought of. I just keep forgetting to mention it to you, because I think it's extremely important when it comes to simplifying everything. And you have to keep in mind, are you a shallow fisherman? Are you a mid-depth fisherman? Are you a deep fisherman? Are you all three? Because not everybody fishes the same water all the time. A lot of us are A lot of us fish the waters that are kind of accessible to us. And when that happens, you're limited to certain things you can do. That's just a fact of fishing. So, an important thing that you need to keep in consideration is when you come across shallow water, what are you more comfortable fishing, lure-wise? When you start getting a little bit deeper water, what lures are you more comfortable with when you get to that transition? Or if you're fishing real deep water, let's say the average crankbait can't get to, let's say 10, 15, 20 feet, okay? Without being, a super deep cranker kind of guy. If you're just an average kind of guy, what baits do you go to in that depth? And I think that's the important thing that you need to keep in mind. Perfect example, if I'm fishing shallow water, we'll say 5 feet and less, where you might have brush, you might have rock, you might have maybe just open water. Open water, I think a crankbait would probably be a good analogy to have on something like that. But with me, a lot of times I run to brush, trees, things like that. 'Cause I do a lot of river fishing. Very little current. It's almost a reservoir, but it is a dammed off section of a river that gives me a couple of miles I can run up and down with. And I have a little bit different water in certain sections, and I have a lot of brush in certain sections. And me personally, if I'm going to throw up in the brush and I'm throwing the shallow water, I'm probably going to stick with a spinnerbait. Now, if there's no wind, maybe a sluggo or maybe a crankbait of some sort. If I'm really trying to imitate shad, and that's what I'm going to throw. I would say probably 9 times out of 10, regardless, I'm probably going to stick with a spinnerbait because I can change sizes and change my profiles and everything else, blade sizes, everything else. Crankbait is not going to be a huge factor just because of the hang-up ratio in brush, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to throw it. Now, as far as the mid-depth stuff, okay, now I can get more into a crankbait. Maybe a single-bladed spinnerbait, something I can bounce off the bottom, in that kind of depth, especially if there's cover or rock around. Solid plastics come more into play. If I'm fishing deeper than that, I tend to go a little more old school with it, like tail spinners, a jig, worms. I don't get too off the cuff with a lot of things. If you've got a finesse, a lot of times I'll throw grub. It's just and then of course you got topwater, and like I explained before with topwater, you've got a very small window a lot of times in topwater, so there's no sense in having 20 different lures on the deck of the boat because you just got a very small window and you got to figure out what's going on. And 9 times out of 10, if you've got a specific topwater lure that's your favorite, that's going to be the best one you can throw regardless what the situation is, because confidence is number one. So that's what you have to keep in mind. But listen to yourself. Be honest with yourself. Don't sit there and think, man, I've got $100 invested in this one soft plastic and I've got all these different colors and all these different hooks and everything. But if it's something that you're not going to go to, or if it's something you've tried and you don't like it, don't throw it. Don't bother to keep it. I've said before, keep it on the back burner, keep it on a rack, keep it on the shelf somewhere, because 5 years down the road, if you decide to throw it, guess what? It'll probably be off the market by then. And you got your share of it. You don't have to worry about going to eBay and getting it. So there's something to think about there. If it's something you think you might go to, put it on the shelf and wait. You might even be able to sell it on eBay 5 years down the road and make some money off of it. Hey, it's a gamble, one way or the other. But just wanted to throw that by you guys. Something I ran across this week, and I was like, man, I might want to mention that because a lot of people don't even think about that. If you're a shallow water guy, what are your dominant baits? If you're a mid-depth guy, what are your dominant baits? You know, and everybody has their own series of lures they use because they've caught fish on them. I mean, I know some guys that swear by um, a certain color and a crankbait, and they carry different varieties of crankbaits just in that color, and that's all they throw. Is there anything wrong with that? Nope. If you're catching fish, nobody can tell you you're wrong. You know, I've been like that too. You know, I've always told myself, you know, I think like a couple of years ago, I was like, if I had one color to throw, what color would it be to cover every situation? I think I chose like a citrus shad. And I carried all different baits in a citrus shad, and I caught fish that year. But that was an experiment to me. And after about a year, I was kind of like, I miss my fire tigers and my shads and crawls and stuff like that. And I got back to where I was again. Doesn't mean that I left what I experimented. It's just that was an experiment. I just wanted to see if it was something I could do. So just keep that in mind, guys. I'm going to make it short and sweet. I'm not going to beat this in the dirt. So I hope this helps. Hope this gets you to thinking a little bit. You know, it is winter time. A lot of us are at home. And like I said, the worst thing that could happen is being off the water, because your mind starts going, and you start getting more and more and more and more stuff. You go from one box, and you got 2 boxes, now 3 boxes, now a whole boat full. It can happen. It can happen. You need to be honest with yourself. Simplify your fishing, folks. Simplify your fishing. Again, I hope this helps you guys. Tight lines to everybody. May the Father bless you and keep you in Yeshua's name. And as always, fish on.